A chilly London night, fine drizzle tapping softly against the vast glass dome of the Shard Conference Centre. From inside, warm golden light spilled through the panes, draping Eastcheap like a glittering diamond carpet. On the 32nd floor, in the Grand Hall seating over 1,000 guests, the annual Hope for Tomorrow charity gala of the Global Women's Rights Foundation was underway. Britain's leading figures in business, politics, and the arts mingled in glamorous evening attire, conversing around round tables draped in white voile, decorated with fresh flowers and scented candles. The stage lights began to dim as a soft overture floated through the warm air. After several musical performances, the MC announced the start of the charity auction. But instead of bringing down the gavel as in past years, the organizers had prepared a special highlight, the world premiere of a 3-minute teaser for Emma Sinclair's new film script. The LED screen lit up, revealing a fierce female assassin who becomes the wife of a cold-hearted billionaire, a story brimming with drama and surprises. Amid hundreds of eager eyes, Emma Sinclair appeared. She wore a coral pink silk gown cut with elegant precision, her platinum hair was swept up neatly, and pearl earrings caught the stage lights. Her deep blue eyes shone with confidence, her scarlet lips curved into a gentle smile. With measured steps she approached the podium, bowed gracefully, and began her introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, the film is titled Shadows of the Heart. I wrote the screenplay around the star-crossed love of Emma Blackwood, a female assassin trained from childhood, and Alexander Blackwood, CEO of Blackwood Global, the coldest man in New York. This is not only a romance, but also a tale of trust, sacrifice, and power. Her voice held the room spellbound, every gaze fixed on her with respect and curiosity. In a corner of the hall, partially hidden behind a banquet table, sat Alexander Blackwood, the very inspiration for her hero. Dressed in a black tuxedo with a perfectly tied bow tie and crisp white shirt, he possessed a strikingly angular visage and fathomless blue eyes as impassive as an iceberg. When Emma appeared on screen, his gaze drifted over the teaser with mild interest. He had heard her name for years, now he was curious to see what she had created. The teaser ended to thunderous applause. Emma bowed again, stepped back. As she left the stage, she felt Alexander's eyes follow her. Instead of faltering, she gave him a small, provocative smile. Next came the cocktail reception in the adjoining lounge. Champagne flutes were topped up and trays of canapés gleamed on silver platters. Emma entered, a stack of script brochures and teaser DVDs in hand. Guests flocked to her, but she gently weaved through the crowd toward the bar, placing the gleaming DVDs under the light before pouring herself a glass of white wine. At that moment, Alexander appeared beside her. He raised his flute and said in his deep voice, "Good evening, Miss Sinclair." Emma turned, her eyes brightening. "Good evening, Mr. Blackwood." They exchanged no further pleasantries. In the cramped space filled with wine and soft jazz, they stood like two opposite poles drawn irresistibly together. After a pause, Alexander asked, "The teaser is impressive. Have you found an investor?" Emma inhaled, then answered with a courteous smile, "I'm still searching. This project needs a backer who's bold and trusts the writer. Are you interested?" Her warm tone touched his pride, the pride of a man who loved backing ambitious art. Alexander's pale lips curved in a faint smile. "Show me the full script. You have 48 hours to convince me." She felt the gravity in his words, not exactly a challenge, but enough to know this was her greatest opportunity. She bowed solemnly, then slipped away. That night, Emma returned to the Savoy Hotel on the Strand. She set up at the battered desk in her suite and composed an email to Alexander, attaching a Dropbox link to her 120-page screenplay. The subject read, "Shadows of the Heart, for Alexander Blackwood." Her message was brief. "Dear Mr. Blackwood, thank you for your time this evening. I look forward to your thoughts and to discussing the project in greater depth. Sincerely, Emma Sinclair." She told herself this was her boldest move, placing her life's work in the hands of a man renowned for his reserve. Now all she could do was wait. 48 hours later, in Alexander's minimalist office on the 45th floor of Blackwood Global in Manhattan, the panorama of the East River glittered below. He sat behind his desk, a glass of fine whiskey in hand, as he downloaded and opened Shadows of the Heart on his laptop. He paused on the title page, her name in bold capitals, and began to read. For hours he scarcely looked away. Sometimes he frowned, sometimes he nodded, occasionally letting a small smile escape. On page 45, as Emma revealed her heroine's brutal childhood training, he set his glass down and leaned in, reading 2 chapters at a time. He pictured the scenes, the lighting, the actors, the score, and the film's commercial potential. After nearly 2 hours, he closed the laptop and regarded the empty whiskey glass. He thought to himself, "This is the project I want to commit to." That Friday evening, Emma found Alexander's reply waiting in her inbox. "Dear Miss Sinclair, I have read your screenplay and am profoundly impressed by its depth of character. I will invest an initial $5 million in the film. Please come to New York next week so we can discuss details. Sincerely, Alexander Blackwood." Emma leapt to her feet, heart pounding, and burst into her roommate's room. He said yes. He's in. A whirlwind flight from London to New York saw her landing at JFK at midnight, whisked by limousine to the Plaza Hotel. She collapsed onto the bed, mind racing with scenes and dialogue. She knew her true journey was only just beginning. About 2 weeks later, Emma and Alexander met in Liberty Hall, the curved glass conference room at Blackwood Global. Emma presented storyboards, concept art, and production budgets. Alexander listened attentively, occasionally asking about the cost of a snow battle in New Hampshire or how to secure a veteran lead actor. He ticked off each line item until every detail was approved. After the meeting, he invited her to dinner. Over French wine and beef Wellington, they spoke of life, family, and dreams. Emma confessed her Oscar ambitions. Alexander shared the pressures of sustaining his company's growth. In the candlelight, their eyes met, not as investor and writer, but as 2 souls who understood and respected one another. When the limousine deposited Emma back at the hotel, she told herself, "Keep this momentum, this project needs me." And Alexander, alone in his office, placed the script on his shelf and smiled, thinking, the real game has just begun. From that first spark of eye contact, that quiet challenge, and that leap of faith, the story of Emma Sinclair and Alexander Blackwood had opened its first chapter, one promising power struggles, soaring ambitions, and the fragile birth of love amidst glory and surprise. The Liberty Hall boardroom on the 45th floor of Blackwood Global in Manhattan was suffocatingly silent. Polished dark oak floors reflected the pale yellow glow of crystal chandeliers, the curved glass walls offered a 360 degrees view of the East River sparkling in the sunset. At the center stood a long white marble table, upon which sat only a gleaming MacBook Pro and a cup of black coffee on a matching saucer. Alexander Blackwood stood at the head of the table, arms folded, his face as cold as ice, eyes fixed on the door. A bell chimed precisely at 3 p.m., signaling the appointment's start. Emma Sinclair entered, wearing a black blazer and slender heels, carrying a dark brown leather briefcase, an image of poised determination. Her footsteps echoed like a drumbeat as she crossed the room. "Good afternoon, Mr. Blackwood," she said, voice clear and steady, as she offered a respectful bow. Alexander inclined his head and motioned for her to sit, no smile of welcome, only an unwavering stare. "You have exactly 20 minutes to persuade me. You may begin." Emma inhaled deeply, eased her shoulders, and retrieved her dossier. She waited patiently as Alexander adjusted his tie and sipped his coffee. When he set the cup down, his gaze invited her to start. She clicked to the first slide, Shadows of the Heart, set against a noir-style image of her heroine, assassin Emma Blackwood, dagger poised against a rain-lashed New York skyline. Beneath, the tagline read, "When darkness meets light, can love erase the scars?" Emma spoke with conviction. "Mr. Blackwood, Shadows of the Heart is more than an action romance, it's a journey of redemption." Emma Blackwood, trained from childhood by an underground syndicate, marries Luke Fallon, a cold and powerful CEO, also named Blackwood, to evoke a mystical bond between 2 worlds, cruelty and love. Viewers will witness her tests of trust and his heart's thaw under her fierce loyalty. Alexander nodded once, his eyes glinting. A second bell announced 5 minutes gone. Emma advanced to slide 2 without pause. Her audience remained hushed. She displayed portraits of the 2 protagonists, Emma Blackwood and Luke Blackwood. Emma, flawed yet resilient, is based on my own life, orphaned, rescued by a small London theatre, and rising to 3 Emmy nominations. She fears only losing love. Luke, a tech military mogul, buried his pain in work after a failed marriage. Their arranged union conceals a cerebral duel. She aims to expose the syndicate, he seeks to shield family power. Silence reigned. Emma clicked to the next slide, market and profit. Charts compared 5-year box office returns in the US and Europe, juxtaposing John Wick and Mr. and Mrs. Smith, each grossing over $300 million worldwide. Projected budget, $50 million production, $20 million marketing, total $70 million. With simultaneous theatrical and streaming release, we forecast $120 to $150 million box office, $80 million streaming rights, a $200 to $230 million return, roughly 230% ROI. Plus brand partnerships, merchandise, soundtrack, NFTs. Low risk, high reward. Alexander pursed his lips and nodded deliberately. Emma advanced to the final slide, why Blackwood Global should partner. In closing, she met his gaze. Mr. Blackwood, my 20 minutes are up. I believe Shadows of the Heart will electrify audiences worldwide and deepen your brand. Will you join me? A heartbeat of silence followed. Then Alexander rose, paced the table, and fixed her with a decisive look. Consider me convinced. You have not only a strong script but the passion and vision I respect. I'll invest $70 million, including our /VR commercial rights. We're partners. Emma's relief shimmered in her eyes. She rose and smiled through tears. Thank you, Mr. Blackwood. I won't let you down. He extended his hand. Their firm handshake sealed a pact between her creative fire and his pragmatic resolve. Emma left on cloud 9, already arranging video conferences, contract details, and flights. In a city of ceaseless motion, she felt the first true moment of stillness. Her story's real chapter had begun. After the spectacular success of the Liberty Hall negotiation, Emma Sinclair returned to London brimming with excitement and resolve. She knew that sustaining the partnership required more than just financial backing. She had to make Alexander Blackwood feel this was not merely a business deal, but a shared journey of two kindred spirits. To that end, Emma cleverly orchestrated Alexander's business trip to London as an opportunity to take the initiative, spark his goodwill, and gradually win his heart. 2 days after signing the contract, Emma sent an elegant invitation. Dear Mr. Blackwood, the world of Shadows of the Heart is not just a script on paper but also inspired by the City of London, where I grew up. I would be honored to show you the key locations of our project: Westminster Palace, Camden Lock, the Royal Shakespeare Theatre. All expenses have been arranged. Sincerely, Emma Sinclair. In the project's private Slack channel, she attached preliminary photos: the northern quay of Regent's Canal at Camden Lock, a Victorian cafe beneath a Hampstead Heath oak, and the view of Tower Bridge at sunset. Let me guide you through Emma Blackwood's world before she writes her destiny with Luke, she added. Not long after, Alexander's secretary replied, Dear Miss Sinclair, Mr. Blackwood agrees to schedule your London visit next week. A detailed itinerary will follow. Regards, Miss Carter, Secretary to A. Blackwood. Emma smiled to herself. She had deftly turned the investment game back onto Alexander, while opening the stage where she would shine as his personal guide. On Sunday morning, Emma rose before dawn. She called a car to London City Airport, carrying only a small suitcase with a lightweight blazer, her handheld camera for behind-the-scenes footage, and her passport bearing the name Emma Sinclair. In the business lounge, she sipped espresso, eyes on every arriving passenger. At around 10 a.m., Blackwood Global's private jet touched down. Secretary Carter greeted her. Mr. Blackwood is in the lounge. Please join him. Emma smoothed her hair and stepped through the glass doors. Inside the plush lounge, Alexander reclined in a gray leather armchair, sartoria-cut black suit, holding a tablet of financial reports. He looked up, faint surprise flickering in his eyes. Alexander, Emma, I didn't expect you so early. Emma, I didn't want to miss a single moment here. Thank you for arranging the jet. He nodded and motioned to a chair opposite him. Please sit. Emma set down her case, produced her small camera, and discreetly filmed the cabin's wood-paneled ceiling, electric adjustable leather seats, and beige curtains. Emma, the flight to Heathrow takes just 2 hours. After that, we'll go to the Savoy so I can prepare this afternoon's plans. Alexander only nodded, eyes briefly hesitating. He was not one to reveal interest easily. Emma took a breath and offered, "Emma, do you like Earl Grey? I've ordered 2 cups." He raised an eyebrow, sipped the tea, and said, "Alexander, it's exquisite." Emma beamed. This was the first time she'd seen him soften over a simple pleasure amid his busy schedule. A limousine met them at VIP Heathrow and whisked them to the Savoy. In her corner suite with views of the Thames, Emma set up her camera and drew the curtains to let in the afternoon light. She knocked and invited Alexander out onto the narrow hallway balcony. "Emma, London looks extraordinary today. Let's visit Westminster first." He turned to the distant spire of Westminster Abbey, site of coronations. "Alexander, ancient history, what scene do you want here?" Emma, a royal ball ambush, where Emma Blackwood confronts assassins in full gown and dagger hidden behind her skirt. "We'll recreate it on stage later. The real Abbey will be our original backdrop." They walked along the riverbank, salt-tinged wind swirling past. Emma recounted her first visit to Westminster Abbey at 16, when she'd gotten lost and was guided out by an elderly verger, an indelible memory that shaped her path as a writer. Alexander listened quietly, eyelashes squinting against the breeze, absorbing not just her project details but her life story, her emotional footnotes, as she called them. Next, she led him along weathered boardwalks to Borough Market. Amid its dozens of stalls, she guided him to the best fish and chips stand, then the famed cheese vendor. "Emma, try this Iberico ham and green apple sandwich." Alexander took a bite, closed his eyes, then chuckled. "Alexander, challenging. But delicious." Emma exhaled in relief, pulled out her location map, and sketched shot plans as they ate, camera movements, lighting effects, ambient echoes under the market's vaulted roof. "Emma, what do you think?" "Alexander, you're impeccably prepared. I believe we can realize every detail." Her confidence sparkled. This trip was not merely a showcase of ideas but a demonstration of who she was: thoughtful, meticulous, and passionately committed. That evening, Emma took Alexander to BFI Southbank, the British Film Institute, where she'd booked a private screening room. Around 50 velvet seats faced a large Dolby Atmos screen. She played B-roll footage shot by her team, a lone assassin racing through Reykjavik's icy corridors, Emma Blackwood standing in Versailles' sunlit gardens, filmed in a French chateau, and action sequences in Camden Town. Alexander sat, rapt, as she cued isolated footsteps echoing in an underground tunnel, the crack of gunfire, pausing on Emma Blackwood collapsing in a blizzard, breath ragged. "Alexander, I never imagined the script would be so vivid." Emma smiled, leaning on the seat back. "Emma, every shot has a story. In Iceland's -15 degrees Celsius, snow cut our skin. I want audiences to feel each breath of the character." His look had changed from the night they first met, admiration and curiosity replacing aloofness. When the reel ended, dusk had fallen. Emma led Alexander to a moored launch along the Thames, strung with hundreds of lanterns. She invited him aboard, where live jazz wafted. Emma, whispering, "I want tonight to be our first milestone." Alexander draped his coat over her shoulders and said softly, "Alexander, you truly know how to make a busy businessman feel at ease." They sat across from each other, champagne in hand, Tower Bridge glowing behind them, red and green lights dancing on the water. Emma described the scenes she envisioned: Emma Blackwood discovering clues beneath a rusted deck, Luke Blackwood proposing amid candlelight. Alexander interrupted. "Alexander, have you considered which seasoned actress will play Emma?" "Emma, yes, Minnie Driver or Rosamund Pike. Both blend softness with ice-cold resolve." "Alexander, I'll leave the casting to you." As the launch drifted along, Emma realized he was beginning to trust her vision completely. In that serene moment, her own heart fluttered like the clockwork on the Thames. After their elegant evening, Alexander did not return to the hotel immediately. Under a moonlit sky, he handed Emma a small USB drive. "Alexander, these are recordings of my R/VR tech meetings. If you want to integrate the technology into the film, here's your chance to study it." Emma's eyes glistened. "Emma, you trust me that much?" He nodded, smiling quietly. "Alexander, I do." In that instant, hair tossed by the river breeze, Emma knew she had not only pursued the project but had also captured Alexander's heart. She had taken the lead, blazed the trail, and the first fruit of her efforts was the absolute faith he now placed in her. Together, they would move from partners to emotional equals. After Emma's creative and romantic pursuit in London, Alexander Blackwood returned to New York with a heart no longer solitary. Throughout the flight on his private jet, he could not stop reading her short, warm message. "Good night, thank you for giving me such a wonderful experience." Rather than diving straight into financial reports and business strategy, Alexander found himself planning how to reciprocate, not just with executive calls, but with sincere, unexpected gestures to win the weathered screenwriter's heart completely. He resolved to mount a male pursuit. Rather than waiting for Emma to take the lead, he would be the one to follow her, filling the emotional gaps she still hesitated to reveal. Famous for his packed schedule, Alexander nonetheless carved out one Wednesday afternoon to send Emma a personal invitation. "Dear Miss Sinclair, I have just received the R/VR integration draft from our technical team. I would like to invite you to Blackwood Global Headquarters next Friday to experience this immersive technology for Shadows of the Heart. Afterwards, I will take you to dinner at the River Cafe on the East River. I hope you can make it. Sincerely, A. Blackwood." Emma read the letter, blushed, and smiled. She knew that time was the most precious gift he could give. His personal invitation, carefully arranged, spoke louder than any silent declaration. The higher the elevator climbed, the more luxurious the surroundings became, warm light glinting off polished surfaces. On the 50th floor, Emma was shown into the R/VR lab, a hushed, shadowed space with frosted glass walls, headsets and haptic gloves arrayed across a central console. Alexander waited beside the lead engineer. "Emma, this is the technology we've developed to recreate 3D environments responding to the viewer's body movement and gaze. Please try it," he invited in his low, warm tone. Emma donned a headset and found herself hovering in a dusky London street, a lone assassin stalking narrow alleys under a moody sky. As she tilted her head, her viewpoint shifted, and echoing footsteps sounded convincingly real. Her heart raced. "Amazing," she whispered. "I can control the scene with gestures and eye movement." Alexander smiled with satisfaction and stepped closer. "Look toward that window, there Emma Blackwood will propose to Luke by golden lamplight." Emma turned her virtual head and saw a grand balcony, Emma Blackwood in a white ball gown standing as Luke Blackwood knelt with a ring. The warm glow on their faces made her heart flutter. When she removed the headset, tears glistened in Emma's eyes. You moved me even more than on the launch under Tower Bridge." Alexander held out his hand. "I want you to feel not only the character's story but also the love I have for you." Emma gently took his hand, her heart warming. The tech demo had been the pretext. What truly touched her was him, choosing to immerse her in his world, honoring her passion and creativity. 7:30 p.m., the River Cafe. Candlelight flickered in the glass-walled dining room overlooking the gentle East River. They were seated at a white-clothed table, a single red rose between them. The chef had prepared a 6-course fusion tasting menu: Japanese scallop salad, French lobster bisque, truffle mushroom risotto, Wagyu beef tenderloin, Italian cheese plate, and molten chocolate lava cake. Alexander ordered a 2008 Dom Perignon and raised his glass. "Thank you for coming." Emma smiled. "Thank you for inviting me." The initial awkwardness melted when the steaming lobster bisque arrived. They began to share their dreams. Emma spoke of her early days studying screenwriting and her Hollywood ambitions. Alexander admitted the family pressures he carried and his desire for a technology empire with purpose. When the Wagyu course was served, Alexander asked thoughtfully, "Who do you envision as Luke Blackwood?" Emma giggled. "I first thought of Henry Cavill, but he's too mature. I want someone with strength and nuanced emotion, perhaps Richard Madden after Bodyguard." Alexander nodded. "Excellent choice. I support it." He then inquired about the romantic scenes. "Are you concerned audiences might react negatively to Emma pursuing Luke first, and then Luke seeking revenge?" Emma tilted her head in thought. "That's precisely the difference. Marry first, love later. Audiences will wonder, they wed by arrangement, can they find true love? I believe they will empathize with that journey." Alexander smiled, clinked his glass with hers. I have faith in your vision. The candlelight danced in his eyes, and Emma, suddenly shy, lowered her gaze. In that intimate glow, their initial reserve gave way to a growing closeness, as if two souls were slowly merging. Around 9 p.m., they left the restaurant and strolled along the quay. Emma draped in a light wool coat and cashmere sweater, Alexander in a warm blazer. The early Manhattan chill did nothing to dampen their spirits. At the Savoy's riverside entrance, Alexander turned down the main drive and lit a paper lantern beside the waterside path. A handwritten note read, "Good night, Emma. See you tomorrow." Emma laughed bashfully and looked at him. "Why didn't you send a limousine?" He shrugged. "I drove myself. I wanted everything simple, just you and me." Emma's eyes shimmered. "Thank you." He took her hand, gently squeezed. "No need to thank me. Let me keep pursuing you." Those few sincere words made Emma's heart skip a beat. She nodded, feeling a warmth spread through her. The official shoot for Shadows of the Heart would begin next week at Camden Town and Hampstead Heath. Alexander decided to fly to London a day early, no longer just as an investor but as a co-creator alongside Emma. Tuesday, 8 a.m., Heathrow check-in. Emma arrived early and was surprised to see Alexander step off the Thameslink train, carrying a small suitcase and duffel bag. He wore a slate gray trench coat and cashmere scarf, dashing as a fairy tale prince. When their eyes met, he smiled. "Alexander, far too early, Ms. Sinclair." "Emma, so you, too, are the male pursuer in full force?" Alexander, warmly, "I've decided to build Emma Blackwood's world alongside you." That afternoon they reached Camden Town, its graffiti-covered streets and historic canal in full bustle. The film crew was lighting the set and translating the script into a shot list. Emma introduced Alexander to director Julia Hart and the cinematography lead. He listened, occasionally asking detailed questions about equipment, lighting, and color palettes. Julia, professional yet visibly grateful, said, "We are so fortunate to have you on board. Your presence will give us budget flexibility and technological edge." Alexander nodded. "I'm eager to integrate VR into the action sequences." Emma watched him proudly. He came not merely as a name on the funding contract but as someone genuinely invested in every artistic detail. She realized this was the turning point. She, the once fearful writer, and he, the once guarded CEO, were now fully ready to collaborate and share. At the brief project press conference, reporters questioned the marry first, love later twist. When Emma faltered, Alexander surprised her by placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder and declaring, "That is our true story." The room buzzed, Emma's cheeks flushed but her eyes gleamed. She leaned into him, finding an anchor in his support. Later, the crew gathered for light refreshments on the canal. Seated on a small launch with jazz spilling from a wooden speaker, Emma sat beside Alexander. His warm hand covered hers. "Alexander, are you all right?" "Emma, I'm fine, because you're here." He pressed a gentle kiss to her wrist and murmured, "I've never been happier than when we make this film together." Emma thought, "He has returned my effort not just with professional commitment but with his heart. I have found true love." A sudden, unbroken drizzle draped New York City in crystal beads, each drop shimmering like diamonds on the cobblestones and rustling through the canopy of trees. The restless metropolis seemed to pause, its only sound the gentle patter on rooftops and the sighing wind through the branches. Emma Sinclair woke in Alexander's penthouse to the faint wash of gray light through heavy curtains. She held her breath, listening to the rain, then smiled softly. Rainy days are so melancholy. Yet so romantic. She glanced at her phone, no message from him yet, and thought, he must be buried in meetings. Before she could rise, her phone chimed. The screen displayed a Blackwood. "Alexander, text, have you woken? It's coming down in buckets. If you're free, I'd love to walk through Central Park in the rain. I've arranged an umbrella and a special bouquet for you. What do you say?" Emma's face lit up. She tapped back, "I'd love to." Half an hour later she stood under the building's awning in a pale trench coat, suede boots on her feet, clutching a bouquet of scarlet roses. A gleaming white Range Rover pulled up. Alexander stepped out, adjusting his cashmere scarf, his features composed yet warm when he saw her. "Alexander, ready?" "Emma, absolutely." He offered her the umbrella, broad and sturdy, large enough to shelter them both. They slipped into the drizzle and wove through clusters of sheltering pedestrians. The rain-slick streets reflected golden street lamps and liquid ribbons. When Alexander handed her the roses, Emma gazed at them in surprise. "Emma, red roses?" Alexander, smiling, "Only the brightest bloom for the woman I'm pursuing." She blushed, inhaling their heady scent. Together they ambled down Fifth Avenue until they paused before the old Strand bookstore. From inside came the soft strains of piano. Alexander knocked on the glass door. The shop's velvet lamps and floor-to-ceiling shelves welcomed them. "Alexander, do you come here often?" "Emma, whenever I need inspiration, or simply to escape the rain. My first purchase here was Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier when I was 16. He nodded, studying her. Then he ordered 2 cappuccinos, and they leaned in to hear the hiss of milk frothing. "Emma, you don't like rain?" Alexander, quietly, "My mother died in a fierce storm when I was 7. I feared rain ever since. Until today. Now I find it beautiful." Emma placed a hand over his. "I'm sorry. But I'm so glad you're here with me." He looked deep into her eyes. "Thank you for giving me the courage to embrace, and even love, the rain." In that moment, the rain's patter seemed to soften. Emma felt transported beyond the hardened CEO she first met, into the heart of a wounded man daring to open. Alexander, softly, "Do you know why I invested in Shadows of the Heart?" Emma, hesitant, "Because I convinced you?" Alexander, smiling, "Not only that. In you, I saw parts of myself I'd hidden, strength and vulnerability entwined. You brought me back to my past and showed me a future." Tears brimming, Emma whispered his name. He drew her into a warm embrace. "Let me protect you, as you have protected my soul." Outside, the rain continued to fall, but inside that little bookstore, they stood cocooned in mutual understanding. When the sky lightened, Alexander suggested exploring the Broadway subway. At the station, trains roared in, doors sliding open to a rush of cool air. Emma waited by a pillar. He placed a hand on her shoulder. "Alexander, for the first time, I'm not watching the clock." "Emma, and for the first time, I feel time slowing down." They boarded the near-empty car. Fluorescent lights flickered as the train sped beneath the city. Alexander sat beside Emma and gently brushed a damp lock of hair from her brow. "Emma, softly, you're so thoughtful." Alexander, smiling, "Because you deserve it." The train emerged at Times Square, its cavernous expanse alight with LED signs. Yet in the drizzle, the scene felt almost serene. Alexander led Emma into a nearby bakery stall and bought 2 hot, flaky croissants. Emma broke off a buttery piece, eyes closed in delight. "Emma, divine." He raised an eyebrow. "You are a French pastry connoisseur now?" "Emma, I spent a summer in Paris learning to make croissants." He nodded. "I'll remember that." As light rain resumed, Alexander produced the same black umbrella he'd brought to London. He sheltered Emma but tilted slightly so droplets fell on him. Concerned, "You'll catch cold." "Alexander, I don't mind the rain, I only worry if I'm not holding this umbrella over you." Her heart stilled. "Mr. Blackwood." She began, but he pressed her hand, kissed her knuckles, and the city's rain felt warm against their joined hands. Suddenly, Emma's phone buzzed again. A celebrity gossip blog had posted, "Emmy-winning screenwriter spotted with New York's richest CEO in the rain, who is the mystery woman beside Alexander Blackwood." A secret paparazzi shot showed them under the umbrella, their silhouettes blurred by raindrops. Emma's face paled and she fumbled to close the phone. "Emma, they've snapped us." Alexander squeezed her hand. "Don't worry. Only those who don't understand will gossip. We know the truth." He dialed his PR assistant. "Alexander, Emily, delete that post immediately and tweet, Alexander Blackwood and Emma Sinclair are collaborating on Shadows of the Heart. Anything else is rumor. Understood?" Emma stared at him, awed by his decisiveness. "Alexander, I protect you, as you protect me." When the rain finally eased, they returned to the penthouse. The Manhattan skyline glowed through the windows, yet all Emma saw was the soft lamplight inside. Alexander made 2 cups of ginger tea and guided her to the leather sofa. She leaned against him. Alexander, are you all right? Emma, smiling, I am now. Thank you. She reached up and whispered in his ear, I have something to show you. From under her coat she produced one of the scarlet roses, still fresh after 10 hours. Emma, the first rose you gave me. I've kept it to remember today. Would you like to keep it, too? He looked at the bloom, then at her. Alexander, I want to keep every memory with you. He plucked a petal and laid it on her open script, writing beneath it in quick strokes. Emma and Alexander, July 12, 2025, The Rose in the Rain. Emma's eyes filled. Before she could reply, he pressed his lips to hers, an intimate promise to weather any storm together. Just then his phone rang. Sir, urgent board meeting. Alexander, I'll join in 30 minutes, work never stops, but you're my priority. Emma, go ahead. I'll be here, waiting with more roses. He kissed her forehead. See you tonight. She nestled into his arms, more peaceful than she ever remembered feeling. Riding the high of that tender rain-soaked night, Emma and Alexander believed their hearts had found common rhythm, ready to face any challenge for shadows of the heart. Yet happiness can stir its own storms when openness courts misunderstanding. A week after their second London trip, Emma was deep in revisions at her Brooklyn office when her phone erupted with alerts. Check today's paper. The script's leaked, see this link. Has Blackwood gone silent? What's happening? Dread turning her stomach, Emma opened the link to a major entertainment site. Blockbuster Shadows of the Heart, 120-page script leaked. Fans in uproar. Photos showed a laptop screen with a PDF open, framed by a shot of Liberty Hall and Blackwood Global's sign. The article speculated internal sabotage, TK Holdings rivals, or, worse, a publicity stunt by Alexander himself. Emma's breath caught. She dialed Alexander frantically. Emma, Alexander, are you seeing this? My entire script is everywhere. Alexander, calmly, stay calm. I've known since this morning. I'm in a meeting, come to my office right away. Moments later, Emma arrived at Blackwood Global's 45th floor. Alexander stood waiting, serious, an eye-catching printout of the article in hand. She trembled. Emma, why? How did this happen? I don't understand. He placed the newspaper before her. Alexander, read it. She scanned the bold headlines: leaked script undermining partner confidence, jeopardizing revenue, partners fearing that if audiences know the plot, box office returns will plummet. Alexander, what do you make of this? Emma, voice shaking, I stored the file in a secure Dropbox. I never shared it publicly. Alexander, digital locks aren't enough. Our work spans continents, emails, Skype, Slack. How can you be sure nobody within your team, or a hacker, wasn't compromised? Emma's eyes stung. You doubt me? He softened his tone. I don't doubt you, but I suspect someone aims to sabotage us. He paused, searching her face. Do you have any idea who? Tears welled in Emma's eyes. I never wanted this. I feel so powerless. I know you'll protect me. He stepped forward and placed a hand on her shoulder. I'm sorry I hurt you. Please give me time to investigate. Emma nodded, unable to look up. An hour later, Ms. Carter and the PR and IT departments of Blackwood Global assembled at Alexander's call. Emma watched the Zoom conference from a private link, eyes red. She admired his thoroughness, but couldn't shake the sting of feeling left out of his confidence. After the meeting, Alexander stared out at Manhattan's flickering lights, wondering if his protective drive had inadvertently wounded her. That night, Emma returned to the penthouse. Alexander opened the door, exhaustion etched in the shadows under his eyes. Emma, have you discovered anything? Alexander, not yet. We're testing for vulnerabilities. Emma, is there anything I can do? He remained silent. Emma bit her lip. I can secure every file myself. I don't want to be a burden. She turned and slipped inside. They did not speak again that night. Over the next days, Emma quietly hired a private cybersecurity expert to encrypt her documents and store them on a military-grade USB locked safe. She dared not call Alexander, afraid of intruding. Alone, she wondered, I can stand on my own as a writer, but does the proud CEO truly need me? Meanwhile, Alexander, having contained the leak and the headlines, could not stop replaying her anguished expression. He remembered her tears at the rumors, her silent resolve to fix everything, and her evasive distance. Each memory cut him to the bone. He chastised himself, I was so professional, I forgot the gentleness she needed. By weekend, he arranged an outing, an art house preview at the Plaza Cinemas. He sent her a text. Emma, Saturday at 7 p.m., private preview of our favorite director's new film at the Plaza. Will you join me? Then he waited, heart pounding. Saturday, 6:45 p.m., Emma arrived in a navy gown at the Plaza lobby, clutching a small bouquet that a server had stashed for her. In her bag sat the high-security USB. Alexander spotted her from across the room, offering a gentle, but still slightly uncertain, smile. He approached, holding out a single white rose. Alexander, I'm sorry for last week. Emma, softly, thank you. He led her into the VIP screening room, where 2 leather armchairs awaited in the front row. The lights dimmed and the preview began. Emma breathed in the warm darkness, immersing herself in the film's artistry. Alexander placed the white rose between their seats and reached for her hand. Alexander whispered, Are you okay? Emma, resting her head on his shoulder, I'm okay, because you're here. When the credits rolled, applause filled the room. Alexander guided Emma back into the lobby and lowered his voice. Alexander, let me show you tenderness, not just professionalism. Emma threw her arms around him, tears slipping free. Emma, you already have. That winter's night in Central Park, amid lamplit fountains, he held up a paparazzi image of their script leak. Alexander, look at this. Emma, I trust you. I don't need excuses. Alexander, I promise from now on to discuss everything with you, security, business, and our hearts, before deciding. Will you agree? Emma, I agree. He drew her close, kissing her gently. In that embrace, they banished the fallout of misunderstanding. Their love, tested by rumor and sabotage, had emerged stronger and more trusting than ever. December arrived, and New York seemed to don a coat of glittering lights and neon signs. The winter wind bit to the bone, but the streets were heavy with the scents of cinnamon, roasted almonds, and church bells singing Christmas carols. From the towering 20-meter tree at Rockefeller Center to the lavish holiday displays lining Fifth Avenue, the city dazzled in festive splendor. Emma Sinclair sat in a Brooklyn cafe drafting her final scene when her phone buzzed. It was a message from Alexander. Emma, I've arranged the most special Christmas celebration in Manhattan. Can you clear your schedule and stay here for the holidays? Her heart leapt. The next day, JFK teamed with travelers and a gentle flurry of artificial snow dusted the tarmac. Alexander, clad in a charcoal wool coat and burgundy cashmere scarf, stood waiting for her at the arrivals gate. Alexander, tired? Emma, not at all, I've missed Manhattan. He swept her into a warm embrace. Everything's planned. Today, we simply enjoy. A white Range Rover carried them along Crystal Avenue, its facades gleaming with festive decor. Alexander confessed his annual holiday traditions, a cup of Serendipity 3's frozen hot chocolate, followed by ice skating at Rockefeller. Emma's eyes sparkled. At Serendipity 3, they settled by the window. Emma ordered 2 frozen hot chocolates piled high with whipped cream and chocolate shavings. Alexander added a warm chocolate croissant, while she savored a cinnamon-spiced apple pie. Gazing at the falling snow brightening the streetlights, Alexander murmured, Seeing you smile warms all of Manhattan. Emma reached for his hand. Thank you for bringing me here. They then glided onto the ice at Rockefeller Center. Under the giant Swarovski star-topped tree, they clattered and laughed, Emma slipping twice before Alexander scooped her up in his arms. Between joyful tumbles, she declared, This is what Christmas in Manhattan should feel like. He bent close and kissed her temple. You make me love this season. As dusk fell, the snow picked up. Alexander drove them to the plaza. In the Grand Palm Court, they dined beside windows framing Fifth Avenue's twinkling traffic. Their 6-course meal culminated in traditional pudding, and Emma sighed. This tastes like Christmas. Alexander raised his champagne. To us, to shadows of the heart, and to our love. After dinner, he led her behind a grand door into a private ballroom. White roses, fairy lights, and a small Christmas tree set the scene. A string quartet played classic carols. Alexander extended his hand in invitation. Emma placed her hand on his shoulder, and they waltzed beneath a glittering chandelier. Mid-dance, Alexander paused and drew from his pocket a small black velvet box. Snowflakes drifted in through the open balcony doors. On bended knee, he looked up at her. "Emma Sinclair, from our first meeting in London, I knew you were the one I want by my side forever. Will you marry me?" Snow gleamed like confetti on their hair and shoulders as Emma, tears in her eyes, whispered, "Yes." He slid the diamond ring onto her finger and swept her into his arms. Above them, the quartet struck up Silent Night, and they shared their first true, unscripted kiss. Around midnight, fireworks and confetti rained down as guests cheered. "Merry Christmas. To our journey together." The morning after their magical Christmas proposal, Emma and Alexander embarked on the next chapter, an intimate, private wedding on the rooftop of Blackwood Global Tower. Alexander, ever the pragmatist, had proposed a simple ceremony away from the glare of the press. Emma agreed, trusting his vision for a modern yet timeless celebration. Early on their wedding day, Emma awoke in the Savoy suite. She gazed down at Manhattan's calm streets. At 6 a.m., her makeup artist and stylist arrived. Seated before a mirrored vanity, Emma's makeup was kept fresh and luminous, soft nude lips, a hint of contour on her cheekbones. A seamstress adjusted the cathedral-length veil over her ivory gown's structured bodice. Meanwhile, at the plaza, Alexander dressed in a bespoke suit. His parents, Mr. and Mrs. Blackwood, waited in the lobby. "Our son has weathered so much," his father murmured, "and now he's found peace." His mother dabbed happy tears away as she watched him adjust his tie. A string quartet played Pachelbel's Canon in D as guests took their seats on white organza-draped chairs flanking a red carpet. The open-air pavilion was framed by glass walls and crystal chandeliers. Father Thomas, in his black suit and holding an English Bible, stood at a gleaming acrylic altar. At the first notes of "Here Comes the Bride," Emma descended a short stairway arm in arm with her father. Her hair was swept into a low chignon with soft tendrils framing her face. Alexander's eyes shone as he watched her approach, recalling the first time she stood before him in coral silk. Father Thomas began, "We are gathered to witness the sacred union of Alexander and Emma. Marriage is not merely a contract, but a covenant of joy and hardship shared in love." He turned to the groom. "Alexander Blackwood, do you take Emma Sinclair as your wife, to cherish, honor, and protect her all the days of your life?" Alexander, with warmth, "I do." Then to the bride. "Emma Sinclair, do you take Alexander Blackwood as your husband, to love, support, and stand by him through all that life brings?" Emma, smiling, "I do." Alexander placed a simple silver band inscribed with Alexander and Emma, December 25, 2025 on her finger, then Emma did the same for him. He slipped into an embrace and kissed her. There's the first married kiss. Guests erupted in applause as white rose petals drifted down. Emma stepped forward, microphone in hand. "Thank you all for celebrating with us. Alexander, and I know that love must be nurtured. Today we marry first, and we'll learn to love next, day by day, moment by moment." Alexander took her hand and said, "Emma, you are my partner in every sense, my inspiration, my refuge. Thank you for choosing me." Glasses clinked, and champagne sparkled under the winter sun. On Tuesday morning, they awoke in their suite to breakfast laid out: toast, feta cheese, olives, pomegranate seeds, and strong espresso. Emma blinked awake to see Alexander already making coffee. Alexander, smiling, morning. "Your espresso." "Emma, you really did that? After marrying me?" Alexander, "Marry first means you deserve to be served." She sipped her coffee, laughing with delight. Over breakfast they discussed next week's schedule, cutting certain scenes, adding new camera angles, demonstrating that even as newlyweds, their creative partnership remains strong. Soon after, they flew to Santorini for their honeymoon. On the volcanic isle's azure shores, they donned swimsuits and dove into crystal waters. Alexander guided Emma into deeper currents, teasing, "I married you on land, now I'll always watch you in the sea." She laughed, splashing him, "Keep an eye on me, or I'll swim away." That evening they strolled through Fira Stephanie's lantern-lit streets to a rooftop bar. Emma leaned on Alexander's shoulder, admiring the twinkling lights over the caldera. He retrieved from his jacket a small black velvet box, this time revealing keys to a Brooklyn brownstone he'd purchased for them both. Alexander, a home for us to begin our life. Emma, tears in her eyes, I can't believe it. He took her hand. You gave me a family. Now you'll never be alone. They sealed the day with a gentle kiss beneath the Aegean sky, two hearts bound by vows, ready to grow their love each and every day. After a blissful honeymoon on the Isle of Santorini, Emma Sinclair and Alexander Blackwood returned to their new home in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. Their duplex apartment on the third floor of a red brick building awaited them, a warm, walnut-toned kitchen with a marble-topped bar, a sunlit living room facing east, and a shared workspace dedicated to shadows of the heart. From now on, their romance would no longer be confined to glamorous trips, it would infuse every project and every moment of their daily life, where Mary first would carry love later into reality. Soft dawn light filtered through the beige linen curtains, illuminating the unfinished storyboard on the work table. Emma awoke first and tiptoed downstairs. The kitchen was still quiet, redolent of the espresso she had brewed late the night before. She flicked on the machine, placed a double-shot cup on the counter, and checked her email. A producer in London had sent feedback. A Hyde Park scene needed a slow-motion leaf-fall sequence. She jotted notes swiftly, then sipped the bitter warmth of her coffee, a flavor as rich and growing as the love in her heart. Suddenly, footsteps echoed on the stairs. Alexander appeared in a crisp white shirt and rolled-up trousers, an iPad in hand. He crossed the room and kissed her hair. Alexander, whispering, "This morning I received the supporting cast breakdown and Netflix's distribution feedback. Once you've read them, let's discuss." Emma turned with a radiant smile. "Emma, you're amazing. Just give me the highlights and I'll synthesize the rest." He bent to plant a gentle kiss on her nose. "Alexander, work is still important, but you're my priority. You write, and I'll make us lattes." Together they began the day, an ordinary routine made extraordinary by shared affection. Mid-morning, crisis struck. Emma's phone buzzed with a new email from their lead casting agency. "We regret to inform you that John Everett, cast as Luke Blackwood, has accepted another film that conflicts with our schedule. He cannot continue with Shadows of the Heart. Please advise ASAP." Emma's heart lurched. John Everett had been the perfect fit, his brooding good looks and nuanced masculinity matched the role. His departure upended the schedule and rattled the entire production. She went still, eyes dry, lips barely moving. "What do we do now?" Alexander sighed and draped a comforting arm around her shoulders. "Alexander, don't worry, love. We'll find someone else. I've already contacted 3 possibilities: Henry Cavill, Richard Madden, and Nicholas Hoult. They're available for an urgent callback." Emma nodded, fighting back panic. "Emma, thank you. I'm sorry this happened." He squeezed her shoulder. "Alexander, this is our challenge to overcome together." His words spoke a deeper truth. In crisis, love is shown not just by care but by unwavering trust and support. That evening in Liberty Hall at Blackwood Global, the production team reconvened with renewed urgency. Director Julia Hart, the casting director, and Emma sat around the long conference table. Alexander and the CFO joined, not only as investors but as collaborators. Warm overhead lights glinted off tense faces. Julia held up the casting call list. "Julia, Emma, Alexander has lined up 3 actors for screen tests this week. Prepare a short scene to pitch to them." Emma drew in a steady breath and reviewed the audition script, the first encounter between Emma Blackwood and Luke Blackwood, opening with the line, "I thought you were just another arrangement. But now I can't imagine life without you." She knew this test demanded both icy reserve and buried yearning. Emma, understood. I'll record a guide track for their rehearsal and be on hand to read opposite them. Alexander reached across the table and squeezed her hand. "Alexander, quietly, I believe in you, you'll find the perfect new Luke." Emma managed a determined smile even as her heart fluttered. The team dispersed to set up cameras, brief the applicants, and organize the green room. By 8 p.m., the first audition began. Henry Cavill, in a slate gray suit, delivered the lines with commanding poise but some emotional distance. Next came Richard Madden, fresh-faced yet sturdy. Then Nicholas Holt, charismatic but lacking the needed depth. Just as the team prepared to adjourn, Emma's phone pinged with an urgent email. Tom Hiddleston has agreed to audition tonight. Emma leapt up. Emma, I knew he'd be ideal. Alexander's eyes lit with his rare, warm smile. Alexander, let's do it. 30 minutes later, Tom Hiddleston arrived, easygoing, charismatic, voice gentle. The screen test was electric. As Emma and Tom spoke the opening scene, their chemistry crackled and words took on new life. When they finished, Emma and Julia exchanged a look. Emma, whispering to Alexander, see? It's him. He squeezed her hand proudly. Alexander, perfect. You were brilliant. 2 days later, John Everett was officially replaced by Tom Hiddleston in all scripts and project materials. Entertainment media hailed the casting change as a bold reinvention for Luke Blackwood. Emma and Alexander breathed a collective sigh of relief, feeling the burden lift. That night, they treated themselves to a quiet evening in their Brooklyn apartment. On the cream-colored rug, a small wooden tea table held macaron, a bottle of Sauvignon Blanc, and a cheese platter studded with pistachios. Emma slid a vinyl of Hans Zimmer onto the record player. His melodies filled the room. Alexander took her hand and whispered, Alexander, you've made me so proud, your resilience is incredible. Emma's eyes glistened with gratitude. Emma, I was just doing my job. You've always been by my side. They clinked glasses and laughed softly. The room glowed with a love that was steady, warm, and unassuming. The next afternoon, they revisited Bedford Avenue, the coffee shop of their first date. Over cinnamon biscuits and cappuccinos, Alexander teased, Alexander, I owe you a big I love you today. Emma grinned mischievously. Emma, I'm waiting. He leaned close, eyes soft. Alexander, I love you. Emma laughed and replied with a flourish. Emma, I love you more. They embraced on the bustling street as if it were the quietest place on earth. That evening, they strolled across the Williamsburg Bridge. Its iron span stretched over the East River, golden lights reflecting off the water like a ribbon of light. Alexander removed a simple onyx bead bracelet from his pocket. Alexander, wear this, as a reminder that no matter how successful our film becomes, we will always have each other. Emma fastened the bracelet on her wrist, tears of joy in her eyes. Emma, thank you. They sat on a nearby bench and watched sightseeing boats drift by, hands intertwined without a need for words. In that peaceful moment, Emma whispered, Emma, I've truly learned how to love. Alexander hugged her tightly. Alexander, and I promise, every day I will teach you to love even more. Amid the hush of the night and the gentle pulse of the city, their hearts beat in unison, an enduring ode to love that had conquered every trial.